Hello and welcome to Course Like Your Car Brochure channel, and today's episode for Ford Friday, the North American Ford LTD. Hello and welcome back and welcome to Course Like. If you're new to Course Like, we're a car brochure channel looking at car brochures from around the world for the 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s and sometimes beyond that as well. So if you're interested in cars and of course car brochures, please consider subscribing. Anyway, back to today's episode. This first aired on a Friday. We call our Friday episodes Ford Friday. So we look at Fords. Today is the turn of the Ford LTD, and this is the North American LTD. Regular viewers will know we've already looked at the Ford LTD in this brochure for 78 for the Australian Ford LTD. So we might compare them a little bit because this brochure is from 79. So let's dive straight in there and have a look at today's brochure. So here we have today's brochure, and incidentally stickers are now in the store. If you want to look at the store, many different items in the store now. But the 79 Ford LTD, this particular brochure actually, it's not an American brochure, it's actually a Canadian brochure. But like I say, we did look at the Australian LTD not too long ago. So this is the Australian Ford LTD for 78, a very striking looking design, really a very much a love it or hate it design, and by all accounts, particularly if we just turn the page, it seems a lot of important people drove this, prime ministers, etc, etc. So that was the flagship Australian car at the time, and we did discuss the term LTD. LTD, what does it stand for? Now I'm more familiar, more knowledgeable about European cars and Japanese cars sold in Europe, but we do also look at cars from around the world, hence, course like cars around the world for the 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s. So we do go outside of Europe. We do go to Australia, we do go to North America to look at various different makes and models, but my knowledge isn't as high for these vehicles. So we asked, what does Ford LTD stand for? Well, in Australia, Ford LTD stood for Lincoln Type Design, although a few people mentioned the possibility of it meaning Lincoln Thunderbird design, but I've never actually heard that term before, but a few Australian people did mention that. But more commonly, Lincoln Type Design. Now you think that would also go for the American market as well, but no, there is no mention of the Ford LTD in the US being referred to as the Lincoln Type Design. Some theories say that in the US it meant luxury trim decor, hence a high-spec vehicle. Some people have even mentioned the possibility of LTD in the US meaning quite simply limited. But overall, the most common theory is it didn't mean anything, which is very bizarre indeed, doesn't it? If you look at any brochure for the LTD, it never mentions LTD and what the meaning it is for the US market. So that's certainly a little bit confusing. Anyway, the American brochure is what we're going to concentrate on today. We may just have a flick onto the Australian brochure just to compare engines, etc. But let's zoom in on today's US, or indeed this Canadian brochure for the 79 Ford LTD. Now the design of this particular model, this would have been like a third generation Ford LTD, went from 79 to 82. Much more of a design you would associate with a big American car really of its time. It's big, it's drawn with a ruler, lots of straight lines, so not like really the Australian car, which was a bit of a controversial front end even for Australia. But anyway, let's open this brochure up and have a look inside. So this is a long but not very high brochure. first starts introducing this new third generation as roomy, responsive, remarkably new, and with more front seat room, more rear seat room, more handling ease, more window area, more driving convenience than the 78 LTD. It tells us the 79 LTD was engineered to make driving on today's road a pleasure, with a new combination of roominess, handling ease and driver convenience for the LTD. This year's LTD has been designed for more passenger room inside to help give you comfort on even the longest trips, and more headroom, legroom and shoulder room, front seat and back, than last year's LTD. Yet the new LTD is actually easier handling and easier parking than before. And it goes on to tell us, in addition to the standard 5 litre V8 engine, every 79 LTD comes equipped with important standard features. These include select shift automatic transmission, power steering, power front disc brakes, DuraSpark electronic ignition, steel belted radial ply tyres, AM radio, except custom 500, and more. I will certainly compare the engines with the Australian LTD later on. Moving down, it says the Ford LTD for 79 in LTD Landau, is it? LTD and LTD Custom 500 series, 2-door and 4-door sedans and 4-door wagons, designed to take you across town or across country in full-size comfort. Before you buy any full-size car this year, see your Ford dealer and test drive the new LTD on your own roads. And it does this little side-by-side comparison between the 78 LTD and the 79 LTD, telling you it's a big car and it's got bigger basically. And rather nicely, it does tell us the front cover and the car. It says above, but it's not. The car on this page is a 79 LTD Landau 4-door sedan in red glow with dark red vinyl roof. So yeah, rather nicely, and it's quite striking in red. It's a red, and that's actually a red vinyl roof. That's quite nice. Never been a fan of these American style pretend you've got spoke wheels design wheel trims. Maybe that's just me. I don't think that's really fooling anyone, really, is it? But I guess that's a sign of the times. And it kind of like shows you this Ford LTD Landau as being your flagship model, the special one. Black with sort of like a cream looking roof on this particular example, looking very nice. Only 2-door. I just thought that was an unusual idea. Very wordy at this point, but we'll kind of like pick some key points out and have a look at the images. So yeah, the top of the range model, basically you can have it as a 2-door or a 4-door, and it says the stylish, new and rich is accentuated by dual rectangular headlamps with wraparound parking lamps and a Landau chrome plated grille. Bright mouldings sparkle along the body, around the windows and wheel openings. Paint stripes accent hood, body sides and deck lid. Vinyl roof is set off by rear pillar coach lamps, the rear deck lid by a brushed finished accent panel. Then it goes on to tell us about the inside with its bench seat with fold down centre armrests. Both seats, front and rear, are deeply foam cushioned and tailored in rich knit fabrics. It's got a 4-spoke steering wheel. On the column are 2 new lever controls, combining the function of horn button, headlamp dimmer, turn signals and windshield wiper washer. A great convenience. And it's telling it to power up with that 5 litre V8 with the select shift auto transmission. But of course, if that's not enough for you, you can option it with a 5.8 V8. Power steering and power front discs are standard, so are colour key deluxe belts electric clock, new style remote control mirror, dual note horn, AM radio and more. If you want even more elegance, see the interior luxury options. With its individual adjustable split bench front seat and dual recliners, velour cloth or soft vinyl trim, and a dozen more features. To go with it, you can select from these equally luxurious options. Select air conditioning with automatic temperature control, the illuminated entry system, fingertip speed control with new resume feature. And then the one thing that remains is for you to see the new Lando close up and experience it on the road, contact your Ford dealer, etc. Then it shows us this, the LTD Diamond Jubilee model, and tells us this has got two-tone paint, tape treatment, medium blue glow paint over midnight blue metallic with medium blue vinyl roof. Other standard features include those wire wheel covers, speed control, tilt steering column, cornering lights, interior luxury group, and the Diamond Jubilee script. So that looks quite nice in that particular colour. And in some ways it kind of reminds me of the Australian Ford LTD again, and this edition you get, the top of the range one, the Silver Monarch edition. Although I must admit, I kind of feel the Australian one was a little bit more upmarket. I mean, they went for this sort of like Rolls-Royce style grille, and you was driven around it if you were someone important like the Prime Minister, I guess, which I don't really see the similar sort of thing with the the Ford LTD for the US, because they had things like Cadillacs or indeed Lincolns. But anyway, I just wanted to show the Australian version because the Diamond Jubilee certainly reminded me of the Silver Monarch. But anyway, let's get back to the North American Ford LTD. Other images show the sort of hood ornament, LTD hood ornament. I think it possibly is an option. It does say on there, also included with the exterior accent group option. And then at the side there, the coach lamps mounted in both rear pillars, a distinguished mark of the model, or lighted in combination with the parking lights. And then of course the main image, which is this two-door version. Colour on this is black, and the vinyl roof is called Antique Cream. Then we turn the page and it kind of gives you images of kind of lesser versions, and to be honest with you, like a lot of the high spec Australian Fords, I always kind of prefer the lower spec models, but maybe that's, if you watch Quarterlight, I do prefer lower spec cars for whatever reason, but that's just a personal thing. But let's just zoom in on this first one. And we can see straight away on this lower spec version, just a single light. This particular colour is called two-tone antique cream over camel glow, shown with a standard exterior accent group, which includes bright window frames, hood ornaments, wheel lip mouldings, and, except if you go for the two-tone, colour keyed vinyl insert body side mouldings. So quite a nice colour actually. I quite like that particular model. Of course it's just a two-door, and like I say, much more everyday model of just a standard LTD. It also gives us a bit of a look of the column mounted controls, a bit of a look at this previous model that we just looked at from the rear, and then the door card with his quite unusual lock buttons, a particularly unusual location. So it looks neater, but of course it's going to be a little bit harder to steal, I guess. That's telling me that's the idea anyway. And then we get a look at the LTD custom 500, again in quite an unusual colour. This is in light medium pine with optional dark pine vinyl roof, exterior accent group, wheel covers and rocker panel mouldings. Compared to the 78 new LTD have more seat room, more handling ease, more window area and more driver convenience. Quite like I like the lower spec models. I think they look a bit more, I don't know, less garish, I guess, but I do prefer the lower spec ones. These are by far my favourites though, the LTD wagons. This looks like the top of the range model. This is the Country Squire wagon. See, we're back to twin headlights again and wood down the side, but somehow I don't mind it too much as the estate. Extremely practical car. The days before people carriers came out, your minivans. But I do quite like these. I think if I still made these today, I think I'd buy one of these today actually. Very practical vehicles. Unusual seating in the back, which doesn't look overly safe, but we'll have a look at that in a moment. Incidentally, on this particular one, the LTD Country Squire wagon, this is dark Cordovan metallic. But let's have a look at another wagon. This is obviously a more lower spec model, just called the LTD wagon. This is in midnight blue metallic, which actually looks rather nice. And then if we look at the door gates, it kind of like shows you how the doors open, and like I say, unusual seating positions in the back there which don't look overly safe, but I do quite like how the tailgate opens on these. It says the freeway magic door gate. It opens like a window. Sorry, it opens like a door. Window goes up and down for close-up loading, or swings down like a platform for tailgate picnics. One example, and it says power window is standard. So you've got a power window on it, and the tailgate opens two ways. So do quite like that. So that's certainly nothing new, and it shows you various different ways. You can see there with the more sort of traditional sort of truck tailgate design folding down. Plenty of room for your picnic or camping, of course. And a closer look at that not so safe rear seating position. Going back to the Australian brochure, no wagon for the LTD, so you could be looking at moving a long way down the range, things like Falcons, and in this case maybe a Fairmont, and of course different engine options, so 4.1, 4.9, 5.8, so you can still have big engine versions, but certainly not the same level as luxury, I'm kind of like saying. Similar sort of rear sort of tailgate design there, and what an Australian picture that is. And then we turn the page and it starts looking at the interiors and the different interiors you can get. So this first one, it refers to as the interior luxury group, which you could option. This is dark red. Apparently there's 6 different choices, and this is actually a rich velour, which looks quite nice. It also gives you a look at the front dash. This looking very 70s, and this again is the luxury or interior luxury group as it calls it, and we've got all that extra wood that comes with that. And this is what the rear looks like if you get that luxury group. And if we move along, this is more of the standard interior. If you go with that top of the range LTD Lando, this is the flight bench seat, and the materials used here are the standard cloth and vinyl seats in camel. And this one here is still the top of the range one, the Lando interior, the flight bench seat, but this time it is shown with optional deep grain vinyl trim in dove grey. I guess if you wanted a more harder wearing but terribly hot sort of interior. Not sure why you would option for that. And then this is kind of like your standard, your LTD base model interior. In some ways I kind of prefer this actually, although it is vinyl of course. Standard LTD sedan interior in the handsome dual tone striped cloth and vinyl. I guess it's cloth and vinyl. It says the LTD wagons feature a similar standard trim, design in deep grain vinyl. Colour shown here is pine green. Also tells us dark red, medium Wedgwood blue, camel and Cordovan is also available. No, we don't get the armrest though, it's just a full bench seat, but like I say, I don't mind that one at all. And then finally it shows this interior. It calls it DuraWeave vinyl trim with the flight bench seats shown in Cordovan. DuraWeave option is Ford's exclusive Wonder fabric, which looks and breathes like fine cloth, but has the wear, easy cleaning characteristics of vinyl. Also offered in dark red, medium Wedgwood blue, pine green, camel with flight bench seats. All models with split bench seats additionally in wagons, so you can option this DuraWeave. Don't know if it's any better, but there we go. And then we get to the options, all the different options you can get. Some very period options in there, but let's have a look to see what you could option on your LTD in 79. So starting with this, an electronic AM FM stereo search radio and quad sonic tape player. You can also option this, and this is certainly a sign of the times, isn't it? A 40 channel CB radio. This is then showing you can option air conditioning, option this electronic clock with date. You can option electric rear window defrost, illuminated entry, and cruise control, and of course a tilt steering wheel, a heavy duty towing package, looks like they're towing an Airstream, and a bit of a reminder that you don't need a truck to tow something. And then finally we've got power locks, power electric windows and extended service by the looks of it. And then the final page, the specifications, but first of all a bit of a reminder of all the different versions and colours you could get of these LTDs in 79. And like I say, I think for me them estates or station wagons are my favourites. Now sadly on this particular brochure the specifications aren't really about the engine, sadly. There's no real detailed specifications, but at the top there it says the LTD Custom 500 LTD sedans come standard with the 5 litre V8 of course and the select shift auto transmission, and of course lists of the features that they had, but we've really kind of covered most of that in the brochure anyway, so I'm not going to really spend too much time going through this, but of course you can pause the screen if you just want to look through this full list. Then the list of what you can get on that top model, which is quite a bit actually, but I think majority of the stuff, like I say, we've looked at already as we've been going through the brochure. And then it ends with that top of the range model, moves on to the Custom 500 LTD wagons and what they had, and then moving down to the top of the range wagon, the LTD Country Squire, and the extra bits and pieces that they had on them. Now if you move down the brochure to the bottom, it gives you dimensions, and then at the bottom there, Ford LTD 1904 to 1979, a little bit of a Canadian maple, because this is really a Canadian brochure. Sorry about the little bit of the camera shake there, for March 1979. Now, if we just go back to the Australian Ford LTD, again, the Australian LTD shown towing, and yes, you can get heavy duty towing packages for them as well. But more important, these came with a 5.8 litre 4-barrel V8. So yeah, some person in America actually mentioned, why did they have different vehicles for Australia? Was it for fuel economy? Well, certainly not, and certainly not in this particular case anyway. Where we got a 5.8 with our LTD compared to the standard 5 litre for the 78 Ford LTD for the North American market. But like I said, there was the option there to actually put a 5.8 V8 into the North American Ford LTD. So there you go, the Ford LTD for 1979 for North America in this Canadian brochure. Do you remember these particular cars? If you do so, jot it in the comments. Always very interesting to read everyone's thoughts and opinions. Thank you so much for watching today. Please do like and subscribe if you've not already done so, and thank you so much for all those who have already liked and subscribed. It's completely free and does help the channel greatly. Anyway, take care and goodbye. I've just added a couple of extra videos for you to watch if you've got time, and they should be appearing now, and also the little circle is how you subscribe. Once again, thank you so much for watching and have a great weekend.